Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to trimester 2 and chapter 5. We're going to be talking about inequalities for this chapter, and it's super important that we have these basic skills that I'm about to show you with our 5-1 warm-ups. Remember that if we have a greater than or equal to sign, that we are going to be filling these h is greater than or equal to 6. We're going to be filling it in with a complete filled in circle. So I'll have a filled in circle at 6, and h is going to be greater than or equal to that, so we're going to shade everything where h is actually greater than it, which would be to the right. Okay? On the next question, because it is not an or equal to, we are going to have an open circle at 9. Remember, or equal to has a closed circle. If it's just a greater than or less than, we have an open circle. And this says h is less than 9, so we shade everything to the left. X is greater than -1. We're going to have an open circle at -1, and we shade everything that is greater. Remember, greater is to the right. And x is less than or equal to 0, a closed circle, and shade everything to the left. Now, if you need a reminder of those things, again, it's super simple. If it's a greater than or less than, we have an open circle. If we have a greater than, less than, or equal to, we have a closed circle. That kind of looks like a face there too. Alright, so let's get started. Big question of the day is, how do solving inequalities differ from solving equations? And I forgot to put a question mark, so we'll put that for you now. And you'll be able to answer this question probably very quickly. So to solve for y in this inequality, it's exactly the same way that we solve for equations. So if this was an equal sign, we would still do to get rid of a -3, we would add 3 to both sides. That leaves us with y, and then over here we have a -7. This sign stays the exact same. We just bring it down like we would an equal sign, so now we're done. Y is less than or equal to a -7. So we've solved. Now we're going to graph. So when we graph, we're going to say y is less than or equal to a -7. We have a closed circle at -7 because it's an or equal to, and everything less than it. So if I were to plug in any number less than a -7, like a -9, a -9 minus 3 is -12. -12 is less than or equal to a -10. We know what works. Okay, that's an easy way to check. And we'll scroll down to part B of example 1. Same exact process. To get n by itself, we go -4 from both sides of the inequality. N is less than a 5. So at 5, we have an open circle, and we're going to shade everything to the left. And you check it, plug in one of these numbers to see if it works out. Or even plug in the 5. Okay. Example 2. Again, we're trying to get w by itself, so to get rid of a -63, we have to add 63 to both sides. Now, we're trying to confuse you a little bit by throwing in these integers. So w is greater than or equal to a -7, so we have a closed circle at -7, and greater than shades to the right. Okay, so the process here has been fairly simple so far. Part B of example 2, again, to get n by itself, we do +7 plus 7. N is greater than a 5. So here we go to 5, open circle, greater than, shades to the right. Now hopefully you're finding this as easy as I'm expecting you to. Example number 3 here is just reading the words a little bit more carefully. I'll highlight the most important words here. Your baseball team has a goal to collect at least 160 blankets for a shelter, and on Monday they collected 42. On Wednesday they did 65. How many on Friday? Our job is to write inequality and solve it. So at least 160. So we know we're going to have something 160. And so on Monday was 42. We're going to add that to our 65. And we're going to add that to what we don't know we brought in on Friday. Now this number over on this side has to be at least So it's greater than or equal to 160 because of the words at least. So that's why we have or equal to, because 160 is at least 160. So we add these two numbers together, we combine our like terms. 65 plus 42 is 107, plus our f has to be greater than or equal to 160, minus 107, minus 107, and we find out that f is greater than or equal to a 53. So f is greater than or equal to a 53. And that's how many they need to bring in, at least 53, to meet their goal of 160 blankets. Our last problem here, to receive a B in your literature class, or language arts, how we call it here, you must earn more than 350 points of reading credits. Last week you earned 120. This week you earned 90. How many more points? P for points to receive a B. So we're talking about more than, must earn more than. So that's going to be a greater than 350. So all of this stuff combined has to be greater than 350. If you get a 350 points, you've earned a C or a B minus. So that's not going to be earning a B like we're looking for. So again, just like we did in the previous problem, we're going to combine like terms because they're on the same side of the inequality. So we're at 210 plus a P is greater than 350. And so we subtract 210 from both sides of the inequality to get P by itself. So P has to be greater than 140 points. And you'll see this for notation when we're talking about our solving of inequalities. So P for the inequality, so this is our variable, P must be greater than 140 points. Alright folks, this is what 5-1 is all about. Here's what your assignment is. Tomorrow when you come back to class, we'll be ready to rock.